We have got Aaron Rodgers news breaking right now with a deal apparently bringing it back to the Packers for one more year. We have got the MLB trade deadline coming up. We've got everything. It is a jam-packed week here. We are here today to talk some MLB DFS to get you set for Monday's slate. And yeah, we got all that stuff going on with the trade deadline and Rodgers, etc. But we also have Shohei Ohtani pitching tonight in MLB DFS. So it'll be a lot of fun to talk about that as well. Welcome on into the FanDuel Live Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions for the next half an hour to get you set for tonight's slate of MLB DFS. As always, no matter where you are watching, you can get your questions in for today. We'll take them via YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter. No matter where you're watching, get those questions in. We'll answer them live here on air. We can talk about one-offs, stacks, pitching, whatever it may be, we can tackle it for today. From a pitching perspective, things do revolve around Shohei Ohtani. He is the highest salaried pitcher on FanDuel for today, checking in at $11,000. And I think that's fair, honestly, because it's hard to find a high upside pitcher elsewhere. Ohtani here, 26% strikeout rate. That's in a tough sample. He's facing the Rockies for today. Obviously not a tough matchup. So that helps Ohtani quite a bit. I think he is kind of in a tier of his own. I think that if you were to pitch someone to me as being also in his tier, it would be Luis Garcia of the Astros, facing the Mariners. Also a good matchup. High strikeout pitcher, has done a little bit worse on the road than at home this year, so that does ding him a tiny bit for me, but still been good enough to feel good about the overall numbers for Garcia. And I think that he's number two definitively. The drop-off occurs after that. We'll talk about other options here. We can talk through them, but to me, this slate does revolve around Ohtani and Garcia, and then German Marquez being the number three option for tonight. Let's take the first question from YouTube and talk to Aaron. Hello, Aaron. Hey, Jim, just caught up from your morning show. Dinger calls Soto and Vaughn. Yeah, the home run calls for today for me are Juan Soto and Andrew Vaughn. I think both those guys in relatively good spots for today. See if the White Sox lineup is out yet. It is not. I do like them quite a bit, though. Soto batting third here for the Nationals. I think that bodes well. I'm not as into stacking the Nats just because there aren't a ton of guys in this lineup I want to use versus a righty. But I do think that from a one-off perspective, Soto is obviously tremendous, as is Trey Turner. Josh Bell works too. It's hard to get to four guys there for the Nats. But yeah, Vaughn and Soto, my home run calls for today. Let's go over to Twitter and talk to Dodger 2021 champ. I like the confidence in the handle there. Michael Pineda or Dallas Keuchel for today. For me personally, I don't want to use anyone outside of those three we discussed. Those guys being Ohtani, Garcia, and Marquez. I think the drop-off after them is precipitous. You do see here a couple other high strikeout guys in the slate. Nick Pivetta, but he's facing the Blue Jays. Joe Ross coming out the IL. He has not pitched since July 4th. He didn't have a rehab start, so I'm guessing he's going to be somewhere around 60 to 80 pitches, and that's not enough for me. So I can't use Ross. Don't want to use Pivetta against the Blue Jays. I would say, though, Dodger 2021 champ, if you were to pick a value play, that guy would be Dallas Keuchel for me, just because he's a good real-world pitcher in a decent matchup. I think he should pitch well from a results perspective for today. So I would say, to me, Keuchel would have the edge there, but neither guy, someone I really want in my player pool for tonight. Let's talk to Jason on YouTube. White Sox stack? Yes, I like them quite a bit for today. Mike Minor changing things up by cutting down his changeup. I realize that's a weird way to phrase that, but either way, fewer changeups his past four starts. Hasn't been working. Low strikeout rate. He does have a lot of hard contact against him. The White Sox, obviously tremendous versus lefties. So the White Sox, to me, probably the number two-ish stack for today. I have the Astros 1, White Sox 2, and then I think that they're kind of the clear top two for me. Before we get to some other ones, there's some good stacks for today, but outside of them, but those two to me really do stand out. And Aaron agrees, sounds like on YouTube. He likes a White Sox 1 through 4 stack. The lineup not out yet, but I'm assuming based on the way those lineups tend to break, I think that one will be pretty solid for today. Let's talk to John on YouTube. What are your thoughts on Joe, Ross, and Hendricks? Talk before about Ross. I think the pitch count will be too low. I mean, I don't know what the pitch count will be. If we get a report on his pitch count, I'm guessing it'd be 75-ish. probably just not enough. So I love Joe Ross in general. Like if you gave me Joe Ross pre-injury at full strength right now, I'd use him tonight for sure. I think he's awesome. Just not enough pitches for me tonight. So I'll hold off on Joe Ross until that pitch count gets worked back up post-injury. Let's talk to Jerry on Facebook. Good day, Jim. Good day, Jerry. Washington, Minnesota, and Toronto with maybe Martinez and Duran. How do you feel about them? Okay, so Washington facing Spencer Howard. I think they work for sure for stacking. Howard, not a guy who lets up a ton of balls in play. That's the one demerit for that stack. But everything else does add up pretty well. Other thing, too, is not just a lot of guys I want to stack on that team. They're more of a 3-player stack for me than a 4-player stack, which does ding them a bit. As far as Minnesota goes, facing Matt Manning, definitely a match we could target. The problem is the Twins are also down a lot of dudes. No Alex Kirilloff, no Nelson Cruz. This is a fine lineup. Brent Rooker strikes out a lot, but Manning not a big strikeout guy right now, so Rooker has some power. They call him Rooker Rockets when he hits a dinger, so we can get behind that. Polanco's been hitting for a lot of power. Mitch Garver, Donaldson. I would say 1 through 6 all work out pretty well for the Twins. So they're probably 4th for me in terms of stacking, and I'm on board with them. Toronto is the other one facing Pivetta. He does let up a lot of hard contact and a lot of fly balls. So although he gets strikeouts, I could see stacking Toronto. They are not as high on my list for today because I want to use Ohtani and they're super high salaried. So that's the one takeaway there for me. Like if you love a value play and you can get to the Blue Jays, I think they do work. But for me, focusing on Ohtani, it does force me to push the Blue Jays down my list a bit. So no objections to any of those, Jerry. I think that they're all fine. Let's talk to Alvin in a 4-3-1. Which team would you target for the one-off from your top 3? Good question. I like the way that's phrased, Alvin, because like it is a different thing to think about one-offs versus a full stack. Okay, so we have the White Sox, the Astros as being the top 2 stacks for today. The Red Sox were number 3. As far as one-offs, I feel like Jarren Duran might be an ideal one-off. Someone as Jerry was talking about there. He's a low-salary guy, but has power based on what he did in the minors. Batting second for today, that gets me exposure to the Red Sox at a low salary, right in the middle of that order. I think that he could work for a one-off. And then probably looking at, 3 or 4 White Sox. Does depend on what the lineup looks like with Jimenez back, with Engel potentially being there and Vaughn. I think the White Sox are probably more of a 4-player stack for me, which means the Astros would be more of the 3-player stack. Maybe you go Carlos Correa, Michael Brantley, and then one of the studs. So I would say look at the White Sox for the 4-player stack, Astros for the 3, and then Jarren Duran. Pretty solid one-off, unless you have a lot of salary to burn, in which case, splurge for Martinez or Devers there. Good question, though, Alvin. Let's talk to Diffuse. Should Brent Rooker be a priority within Twin stacks at almost minimum salary in the 2-hole, or is he only there because the Twins are bad? Sorry, don't apologize. It's true. So you're good. Feel free to slander the Twins. Actually, I guess libel because it's written. Feel free to libel the Twins as much as you want because they deserve it. I think that he definitely works. He will strike out. So I think the word priority is the only hang up I have there because it's hard to make anyone who strikes out at a 35% clip in AAA be a priority. I guess it's 30%. Sorry, Brett. But I do think that from a salary perspective, from the perspective of I want to get to Ohtani as often as possible, from a power perspective, that all adds up well. So I would label him as a priority, Diffuse. So I think that he does reach that for me, Brent Rooker being a priority within Twin stacks. But I will say that you don't need him in every stack. You can skip over him at times if you don't need that salary relief, just because the strikeouts are very, very present with Brent Rooker. But to me, I think that if I'm filling out a Twin stack with Ohtani, I'm probably just going to take the salary savings right away, go Rooker, and oopsies, too many O's. Rooker. Yeah, I think that works. I think that does help quite a bit. So yeah, I think that he's a priority for sure for me. Kenneth, I think the Toronto stack will be low rostered since priority will be pitching. That's probably a good way to think of it, honestly. And I do think that that's probably going to be true, especially because there is a big drop off. I will say though, even though I know they will likely be low rostered, sorry, I don't know why I was highlighting that. I have sometimes just get a little fidgety with my fingers. But I think that for me, I'm okay not getting super itchy there just because I do think that the correct way to play this slate is to spend up at pitching just because the fall off is so big. And Toronto will probably still be pretty popular there, checking in with the third highest implied total behind the Red Sox and the Twins. So I do think they will be low rostered, and I think that's a great way to think of things. But for me personally, I am still going to spend up a pitcher despite that. Maybe you get a 3-player stack of some of the mid-range guys in there. No lineup yet for the Blue Jays, but let's just check out their lineup here and see if we can. The mid-range for me with the Blue Jays has been great recently, and I've been super into it. It's less enticing against righties because it does lower the value in Gric quite a bit, but Teoscar is good versus righties for sure. So maybe you get like Teoscar, Semien, and Bichette. You might be able to make that work with Ohtani. I would at least try it, Kenneth. But if I'm forced to choose between Ohtani / Marquez / Garcia versus the Blue Jays at low roster rates, I think I would still take the high salary pitching. Let's talk to DJ on Facebook. What are your thoughts with Trace Barrera, and who would you stack him with? Okay, let's see where he's batting for today. Batting 7th for the Nats. Let's pull up his numbers and get an expanded sample on him, because the numbers versus righties in this year specifically are not going to be all that voluminous. So if we include his AAA numbers, 121 ISO, that's pretty low. I would try to avoid personally. I know it's a lot of salary savings, but like he's not someone I'd feel super inclined to play for today, personally. Let's talk to Kyle on YouTube. Utility player at $2,900 and under. Already used Carlos Correa. So if you can't use Correa, let's think about this here. Let's go out of the Blue Jays. Let's go to utility. Let's take Rooker out of there. Rooker would be a good one if you want a little bit extra flexibility to upgrade some guys elsewhere. Okay, so we can't use Correa. Who would be number 2 after that? I think Alex Verdugo is probably going to be towards the top of that list here at $2,800. I would prioritize Duran over him. And I'd be okay leaving salary on the table with Duran over using Verdugo at $2,800. So it's not right at that limit where you had it, but I do think that Andrew Vaughn works. And I think that Duran would probably be the best down there too. I guess I'd go Vaughn over Duran. So it's Vaughn 1 for me, Duran 2 outside of Correa for a utility play at $2,900 or lower. All right, let's talk to Dan on Facebook. He needs a one-off as well for $3,700. Let's scroll up. Probably going to be looking at like, I guess I don't know JD Martinez's salary off the top of my head. He's probably going to be in that discussion. Jose Abreu's there. That's pretty sweet. I'm going to have a hard time talking myself out of Abreu. Semien works there too. Tucker works. That's actually a pretty good range. I'm going to go with Abreu versus a lefty. Really hard for me to not go with him there. It's a good range to be in between, like if you're already using Abreu, then I would say probably checking out Semien or Tucker, but one of those guys really good for today. Michael, I find myself stacking the Blue Jays. Am I wrong to do such? No, I don't think they're wrong. I think that it's a salary thing for me. I'm going to choose the high-salaried pitcher over the high-salaried stack, and they're a high-salaried stack. So it's not a situation where I don't like them. I just like the high-salaried pitchers more. So I'm in on the Blue Jays. Just don't think I can get there from a salary perspective for today. Aaron says, yes, agree, Jim, my hometown team. Don't worry about ripping my Twins. Only maybe Twins lefties for me. Yeah, the Twins they're in a rough spot. I don't care if they trade anyone except for Byron Buxton. Like, they can trade everybody, but if they trade Buxton, I will vomit on my microphone on air. So let's avoid that. Just don't trade Buxton, please. Let's talk to Dalton over on YouTube. Hey, Jim, would you go with Ohtani or Garcia in a single entry? Probably Ohtani. I think that the gap between them is enough to offset the salary gap and the popularity gap. I am operating under the assumption that Ohtani will be the most popular pitcher by a decently wide margin, but that is okay. And actually, Alvin has the exact same thing. So good symmetry there between Dalton and Alvin. I think that I would go with Ohtani. You can make a pretty strong case for Garcia. Let's see what the implied totals are. Because if Garcia's is like a lot higher, then it's possible he'll fly under the radar. I don't expect that to happen. He's second. So yeah, I would just say go Ohtani there for me. Whether it be single entry or anything else, I think that he is the top guy for today. Let's talk to Mason over on Twitter. How do you like Hernandez leading off for the Red Sox? He's a little bit higher salary than I would have hoped. He's talking about Enrique. Usually I think he's $34-ish, $3,400 for Enrique Hernandez for today. A little bit high salaried for me, but it's not like a terrible thing. I think that there are guys I'd rather prioritize in that range. Kyle Tucker is right around there. I think he's $3,600. Yordan Alvarez, $37. I like him a bit more as well. So Hernandez is not going to be a priority for me in that range, but I'm okay with him because I do want to stack the Red Sox. He's good enough versus righties where I can definitely get there. He's just not my favorite guy in that range. If you can't get the 200 to get up to Tucker or 300 for Alvarez, I would say stick with Kike. That's totally okay. But I would like to try to find a way to get up to those two guys for me personally. Let's talk to Jerry. Should we be looking at Philadelphia top of the lineup, 1 through 5 against Ross? No, I love Joe Ross. I think he's awesome. I'd also know a fan who you can only stack 4 hitters from the same team, but I love Joe Ross. So no for me on that one. Let's talk to Dodger 2021 champ over on Twitter. Semyon Vladdy Hernandez stack? Yes. If you have the desire for that, do it. I think they're awesome. No objections to me there. It looks like DJ on Facebook agrees that Kyle Tucker's pretty awesome. No objections. Kyle Tucker's the best. Let's talk to Jerry. Gurriel, Gric, and Vlad. I downgrade Gric quite a bit versus righties because the power is not as evident for him. Teoscar has a fall off against righties as well, but his overall numbers versus righties, just in a vacuum, are much better than Gric. So let's actually pull them up here, specifically the power numbers. Gric, actually, I guess he's at 193. When did that happen? Did he go on a power pinch recently? What in the world? Did I just totally miss like a bunch of dingers from Randall Gric against righties? I'm very curious about this. Maybe I should bump Gric out. Maybe Jerry's right. Maybe it is Gric. Okay. I wrote him off too soon. He's not really had a power binge. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, Gric's good. Change my mind. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I think we're on board with Gric for today. Let's talk to Dalton. Actually, we just talked about that one. Let's talk to Jerry. Just a thought. I would fade all high-salaried pitchers. Hendricks should be the guy with good value against Cincinnati. I just don't like the strikeout numbers for Hendricks. This is over his past 6 starts with less movement on a sinker. 15% strikeout rate. He needs a lot of things to break his way in order to be a high-scoring pitcher for DFS. Like, it's a really low number. Let's pull up the game logs here for Hendricks. It's harder to look at it without actually looking at the amounts he's scoring. He did get over 40 there, but is a 60-point game within his range of outcomes. He had 55 against Detroit back in May before the sticky stuff, and it looks like he's been downgraded a bit since then. I'm not sure that he has 60 in his range of outcomes, whereas Garcia popped 52 last week. He's been over 40 a bunch. I think there's a pretty big upside gap between those guys. So to me, Hendricks doesn't quite get enough strikeouts for me to really like him in DFS. Let's talk to John. Do you like Santana and Perez from Kansas City as a mini stack? They're facing Keuchel. He doesn't let up a lot of fly balls. When I'm looking at one-offs and looking at mini stacks, I want to maximize fly balls. I want to maximize dinger chances, and both those guys, if anyone were to hit dingers outside of Jorge Soler, it'd be those guys. I just don't like targeting guys like Keuchel for one-offs because the fly ball rate is so low. So I wouldn't say no to them, John, because they are so good versus lefties. So good versus lefties. But I try to find a different pitcher to target just to try to maximize the fly ball. So I'm not saying no, but I just like to maximize my fly ball chances. Let's talk to DJ. Stack the Angels at home versus the Rockies, knowing you can't use Ohtani. If so, who do you recommend? They're facing German Marquez. Doesn't let up fly balls. He's a really good pitcher, so I'd avoid the Angels offense for today. Jonathan is asking, what pitcher should I go with for today? Give me Shohei Ohtani. I know it's boring. I know that it's chalk. Don't care. He's awesome. Tremendous matchup. Pitching really well right now. I know that really bad start versus the Yankees, but he's got upside. Not a lot of guys in the slate do. If you don't want to go Ohtani, I think that Luis Garcia is easily number 2 for me by a wide margin. Marquez number 3. So to me, it's all about those guys at 10K or higher, just because I really do. I think that they have a wide gap above the field. Let's talk to Dan, only because I have too many Astros. And he's asking if you like Abreu or Semyon. Both are good. So I think that I know I'm jumping in your conversation, Dan, but I like both. Both are pretty awesome today. I prefer Abreu over Semyon, though. DJ says, long live Gric. Yeah, I wrote him off. How dare I? That was very stupid of me. So Randall Gric, I'm sorry. You're a very handsome man, and you're back in my good graces versus righties. Jerry says, since he's been in the slump, and yeah, they have. With Castellanos being out, it's a major ding to that team. I'm assuming Castellanos is still out. Let me just check that. Yeah, still no Castellanos. It's a bad lineup, but Just not quite enough strikeouts for me personally. Let's talk to Michael. Brandon Gdula is stacking the Devil Rays tonight. Devil Rays are non-existent. Brandon is back tomorrow, Michael. So make sure you swing back to talk to Brandon about the Olympics for men's golf. I think he'll actually have women's simulations as well. Talking about that at 3:30. I don't want to put work on his plate because he might not be doing all this tomorrow. But either way, he's back tomorrow. He was meeting with JJ today. So they met in person, which is cool. So Brandon's back tomorrow. DJ, is Howard still in a pitch count? I would assume yes. Let me see here. So he's gone. I think he's gone like 65. Did he go 65 last time out? Let me check. Usually rule of thumb for me is add 15 to whatever they did last time. Oh, he went, wow. Why did I say 80? Oh, it's because he had a longer one in AAA. So in the minors, he had a 3-inning outing. Yeah, so he's gone longer in AAA. So I'm projecting around like 70 to 80 pitches for tonight. Not enough for me to get there, and also just walks too many guys. So you need more pitches for him to be viable for DFS. That does, though, DJ, mean that you get more exposure to the Phillies bullpen, which is never a bad thing. Ian Nev over on Twitch is asking about Nick Pivetta for tonight. I just think that it's too tough of a matchup for a guy who has some major concerns. Specifically, the batted ball data is really, really bad for Pivetta, which is why I think that it's in play to stack the Blue Jays, despite the fact that Pivetta does get strikeouts. So no Pivetta for me, just because the batted ball data is really, really scary. Let's talk to Dalton. How far do you think Ross goes tonight coming off the IL? So it's tough because he didn't have a rehab start, but he did have 2 bullpen sessions before he came back. My guess, I have 60 or so on here, but I think that range is 60 to 80 pitches, and that's a very wide range. That's why I can't use him tonight. But like when he's out there, it'll be effective, and I think that's why I'm a little bit, wary of the Phillies, but also don't want to use roster tonight. So probably 60 to 80. It's a wide range. I'm sorry I can't be more precise than that, but kind of a weird situation for sure. All right, we got Jerry's home run calls here. He wants Soto, Gric, and Yohan Moncada. I will not object to any of those. I tend to downgrade Moncada versus lefties, but hey, I mean, I was wrong about Gric, so let's pull up Moncada's numbers versus lefties just to make sure I'm not writing him off prematurely as well. I've already made one I'm not dead yet type of statement yet. And let's see what Moncada has versus lefties. 108 ISO. So I wouldn't use Moncada personally there, but Jerry's on a heater. So we're not going to push back too much against Jerry here. Let's talk to Michael on YouTube. Says Keuchel GPP for the money. Yeah, I think that among the value plays, he's my favorite. The reason I don't want to go there, like I just want to spend up a pitcher today, is that Keuchel's still a lower strikeout guy, 18% strikeout rate. But I will note that the 8 strikeouts against the freaking Blue Jays, who are much better than the Royals. So it could happen, Michael. I think that among the lower salary guys, he's the one I like most. Just tough for me to spend down. Related to that is DJ over on Facebook. Would you recommend Pineda at all? No. The Tigers playing really good baseball right now. I know that they do strike out, but Pineda's velocity has been down recently. He's not been effective with the decreased velocity. It's very good hitting weather at Target Field for today. Wind blowing out, 91 degrees. So I will be avoiding Pineda personally as a result of those factors. All right, DJ says the Cubs lineup is out. They're facing Wade Miley. Don't really want to go there personally, just because Miley doesn't really let up a lot of hard contact. Diffuse is asking how I would rank the Twins. Okay, so we got Kepler, Rooker, Polanco, Donaldson, Garver, Larnach. So let's go over here and pull up the Twins number versus righties. I think Kepler's probably going to be number 1 for me. He's been hitting for more power recently, ever since he came back off the IL. Seems like that power stroke has been back. So I'm probably going to go with Kepler 1. Kepler 1. I'm going to go Mitch Garver 2 for the salary savings. He's $2,500. Then do I want Polanco or Donaldson? I kind of want Polanco, just because he can steal some bases, generate some upside that way. Donaldson 4th. I would go with Larnach 5th, and then Rooker 6th. I know I mentioned before that he's a priority, but I just like these guys a lot. So actually, let's go Rooker above Larnach for the salary savings. So we'll go final answer on the ranking of the Twins is Kepler 1, Garver 2, Polanco 3, Donaldson 4, Rooker 5, and then Larnack number 6. Aaron says taking the under on the Twins. So yeah, I mean, I think that like the implied total is very high. I get it because like Manning has struggled. The weather is perfect for hitting. That's why I think that they're a good stack for today. But like they've lost some key pieces, so I don't think that's a terrible way to think of things for today. Michael, do you think German Marquez could be a sneaky low roster play tonight? I think he could, and I think that he's number 3 for me, and so which means that. Well, I was talking about Hendricks before, how he needs a lot of things to go in his favor to be the highest scoring guy. Marquez needs fewer things because he gets strikeouts. He's a good pitcher. He keeps the ball on the ground. The Angels not a super low strikeout team as they were in the past. So I don't think it's a terrible idea to consider Marquez for today. He's a good pitcher. I think that's pretty valuable tonight. So I don't think that's a bad idea, Michael. I would put him definitely in a third tier behind Ohtani in tier 1, Garcia tier 2, Marquez tier 3 all by himself, but I would try to get him in your player pool if you're multi-entering for tournaments for tonight. All right, Ian Nev over on Twitch is saying his home run calls, or their home run calls, are Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and David Bodie. Okay, so they are all in on the Cubs for today against Wade Miley. Again, I'm not going to go with the Cubs because Miley does suppress hard contact, but I love the confidence over on Twitch. Let's talk to DJ. Springer is a home run call. Love it. A lot of power for him, facing a guy who does let up hard contact. And he's been hitting the ball very, very well since he came back from his injury. Haven't seen the lineup yet for the Jays, but yeah. Broadly into it. Danny is asking for the top 2 stacks for today. To me, it is going to be the White Sox, number 2, behind the Astros, number 1. They're facing McCacken. I think that's how you say it, McCacken, for the Mariners. It looks like they're probably going to have an opener just because they have not announced who is starting for today. So I'm guessing it'll be McCacken as like the long boy, followed the opener for the Mariners. But I still like the Astros either way. We've got Correa for a super low salary relative to where he should be, I think. I know he's in a slump, but like the hard contact has still been there. He's striking out too much, but hard contact has still been there. We've got Abraham Toro at a low salary. Michael Brantley's pretty reasonable, so you can stack them pretty easily with Ohtani. So I like the Astros 1, White Sox number 2 for today. Michael says Keuchel fits really well with a White Sox and Houston stack. He does, for sure, because you can get all the studs there. But I will say you can stack the White Sox and Houston with Ohtani because they've got so many low salary guys. So we've got a couple minutes left here, so let's just build this here. Let's go with Vaughn in the outfield. Let's go. I hope Engel plays despite Jimenez being back just because he is a little salary and has some power. Let's go with Correa, and let's put Toro in there. If we do those 4 value plays, we got 33.50 left. You can make that work with those teams. So I do think that even if you go Ohtani, I would try to stack the White Sox and the Astros. So you can make that work there for sure. Jerry, do you favor Houston tonight? Seems like they have a good matchup. I do. I like them a lot. They are my top stack. Very much on board. Jerry, didn't know the Braves and Mets are playing a doubleheader. Yeah, so they're playing earlier, so not on the slate for today. So unfortunately, none of that, as the Braves have been very kind to us for stacking recently, but they'll be back in the main slate very soon. Al likes the Mets and Stroman in the first game. That game is at 5:10. Marcus Stroman, so fun to watch. I've not studied that game, but Marcus Stroman, just like from an aesthetic perspective and like a baseball is fun perspective, thumbs up for me. Love me some Marcus Stroman. Over on YouTube, Baugh is asking about a lineup here. Looks like they've got Garcia in there, and then it appears to be looks like mostly a Blue Jays stack with some Twins in there as well. I like the Twins, like the Blue Jays, so I do think that works. And again, Garcia to me is number 2. I think all 3 of these guys, Marquez, Ohtani, and Garcia, all work out pretty well. And I think that I do want to limit my pitching pool to just those options for today. That is all that we have here for today on the FanDuel Live Q&A. But as mentioned, we are back here once again tomorrow, I believe, with Brandon at 3:30? He's getting back from a long vacation tomorrow, so we'll see. I think he's back here. Either way, I'll be here at 4 p.m. talking MLB DFS. So make sure you are subscribed no matter where. Jerry, are you lying to me? Did Buxton actually get traded, or are you just trying to make me have a heart attack? I'm going to vomit everywhere if that actually did happen. Okay. I can't see anything on it yet, so I think we're okay. Jerry's trying to make me have a heart attack on air, but I think we're okay. I don't think there's been a Byron Buxton trade yet. If there is, I will not be here tomorrow. Jerry's laughing. Jerry, you got me. You got me. So we'll talk to Jerry tomorrow with some we'll have a stern talking to Jerry tomorrow about this. But either way, that was pretty good. You got me good. Back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. to talk MLB DFS. Make sure you subscribe no matter where you're watching and get those questions in. And you can probably dupe me again tomorrow, Jerry, if you want to try it again. It'll probably work again. I'm just saying for sure. Big thank you to Joy Affleck for producing for today on the video side of things. Thank you, Joy, once again, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you tonight. Go win some money. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.